Now, it would appear that people are now lining up, in fact, to attack the former royal known as Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, otherwise known as Meghan Markle, the cable TV actress. And when you think about it, a few short years ago, everything was literally at her feet. She could command things and people would be fired. Let's not forget that with the breakfast show host, right? But seemingly now, as the world really does crumble around her, through all her own fault, it has to be said, even the ubiquitous BBC have now decided to come out and attack her. But there's a deeper meaning to it all. As ever, let me explain. Morning, how are you? Nice to see you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join me. And as ever, welcome all to brand new subscribers. Yeah, I'm glad you see, I don't know about you, I'm always amazed when people can do any technology. And you might say, oh, Neil, it's easy, subscribing. Have you tried learning some of the other new stuff? Oh, goodness. I tried to make a PDF, that's a file. Don't mean that rudely, but if you don't know, on the iPad, oh goodness, don't know where it went. And you're following a video and they say, press this. It's not there, is it? Have you done that? Press this button and you're looking, you think, well, it's not there, but you're talking to a screen. I can't find it. There's nobody there. Oh no, this is the thing about technology. All very well if there's somebody with you. You're with me, aren't you? This is the thing. This is the thing, of course, with somebody like Meghan Markle, let me tell you, because the bottom line was, she could have had the world at her feet, and now she's going to be very miffed, upset, aggrieved, all of those things, the usual bursting into tears, all that sort of stuff over in Montecito, because the programme over here, the Today Show, which is on BBC Radio 4, is very much the flagship premier news programme, particularly if you're in the world of politics and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, a couple of days ago, they were basically talking about the forthcoming, as you now know, rocket launch with Katy Perry and the rest of them going up to not really space, but the sort of parameter where space is. But space enough. Braver than me, I have to say, chums. I don't know if you could do it. I'm not sure that I could, you know what I mean? But consequently, you do think, well, good luck to it. Of course, there was Katy Perry, Gayle King, Lauren Sanchez, and a bunch of others, all trying their luck. And the host of that particular show, Nick Robinson, decided to say, well, it can only be a matter of time before Meghan Markle does that. It was then pointed out to him that, of course, her friend, we think still at least, and best friend of Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King, is also on that trip. Bit of a fumble, bit of a problem, but then they, carried on. But there's a bigger piece behind that, because the co-host of that show is somebody that would be very aggrieved, in fact, at the way that he was called out and treated. This is a gentleman called Johnny Diamond, sometime royal reporter for the BBC, sometimes news host. Very much, esteemed, very successful career. Now, what's interesting was, if you remember, the BBC called out the fact that both Meghan and Harry had asked permission to name their daughter Lilibet. And this was the big threat to the BBC. And this was a story written by Johnny Diamond and backed up, cast ironly backed up. But if you remember, Harry threatened to sue the BBC. Oh, illegals were going to be flying around, all that sort of stuff. And as I told you before, consequently, this went nowhere. Dead and buried, because there was no way that they could verify 100% about Lilibet from Her Majesty the Queen. The BBC put in a call and they said they don't discuss such matters, so the whole thing fell apart. Johnny Diamond was the man behind that story, right? So what's interesting is he's waited some time, but the giggling and the guffawing and of course the agreeing, some people might say, well, that might be, of course, his version of getting back at her who created a big problem for him inside the corporation. And indeed, some might say also, the problem of his career. Because if that had gone badly, he could have ended up like the breakfast TV host, fired. But this time around, apparently he wants to send Meghan into space. Anybody else with him? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.